Well, what about the economic impact of all of this? Well, several oil majors and top trading houses, they've suspended crude oil and fuel shipments via the Strait of Hormuz. And that is a crucial oil export route and connects the biggest Gulf oil and gas producers and is known as one of the world's most important sea passageways. At its narrowest point, the strait is about 33 kilometres wide, but its shipping lanes, well, they're even narrower. Iran controls the north side of the strait, while Oman controls the south. It is an important transit route for major energy-producing countries. An estimated 20% of the world's oil is transported through this waterway. Now, China takes the vast majority of Iran's crude exports. Around 45% of its total crude imports transit through the Strait of Hormuz. Qatar also depends heavily on the strait to export its liquefied natural gas. 83% of the LNG that passes through the strait heads to Asia, including China, India, Japan and South Korea. Even Australia could be affected. Around 30% of its refined oil effectively passes through the Strait of Hormuz. In closing, it could potentially remove more than 17 billion barrels of oil from the global markets, driving up prices and straining energy supplies. Katrina, you is standing by in Beijing, but first let's head to Tehran and to Tohid Asadi. And Tohid, so of course the Strait of Hormuz, Iran, it's a useful weapon from their point of view in terms of this ongoing conflict.
Well, indeed, the truth of the matter is that we are dealing with a highly complicated situation following the news coming out about the confirmation of the Iranian supreme leader's killing. And right now, the situation is quite delicate as the military build-up by the Americans is out there, and Iranians are still talking about a retaliation. And on that, they are trying to assess different options on the table, including targeting military bases of the United States in the region, as well as the Israeli territories on the one hand. And also, there are also geopolitical options that they are thinking. And from time to time, we have heard this from Iranian officials about the possibility of closing the Strait of Hormuz. And we know that there are several perspectives critically important for the Iranian side. First of all, they are aware that this is the choke point through which a very considerable, as you were mentioning, amount of the energy market is being formulated. Oil and gas and other oil-related actually material is being transferred. Also, it's a sort of commercial hub with respect to the connection between the countries in the vicinity of the Persian Gulf and the world outside. So Iran is trying to use it as a sort of leverage in this toolbox, which is getting more and more limited these days.
Tohid, thanks for that. Katrina, you speaks to us now because China was one of the countries that called for an emergency UN meeting. It's voiced deep concern, of course, Katrina, hasn't it, about the US-Israeli strikes on Iran. So, Katrina, this conflict, as we've been hearing, has potentially huge global economic effect, not least for China.
That's right. I think that's really a major part of the reason that China is so concerned about this. It's concerned about the disruption to the global energy market and indeed its own energy needs. Now, China doesn't release very exact figures as to how much oil it imports from Iran. We know that oil in general makes up about a fifth of China's entire energy needs in this country. 70% of all China's oil is imported. Now, 40 to 50% of that comes from Gulf states such as Kuwait and Iraq, and pretty much all of that Gulf oil flowing to China flows through the Strait of Hormuz. So this, any possible closure, any possible disruption will be shocking for China, but indeed not completely surprising. It has been watching these tensions escalate over the past few weeks, no doubt making some contingency plans. Beijing has options. It could possibly import more oil from non-Middle Eastern countries such as Russia, Kazakhstan, even Brazil to make up any possible shortfall. It may also be forced to release some of its own strategic reserves. In the short term, though, I think we can expect to see China continue to call for a halt to any attacks, for de-escalation, for a return to the negotiating table by all parties involved. I think we are also likely to see China call for any of that conflict to stay clear of the strait, to continue to allow any shipments of oil to flow through there, because of course this is going to affect the entire energy market, and China, as its economy is slowing, does not want to see this surge in oil prices that any closure of the strait will definitely cause.
All right, that's a picture in Beijing. Katrina, thank you, Katrina, you that.